There is a virus currently on this earth that if you catch it has a 100% death rate. In the initial stages, you'll actually have no symptoms, and this will be the case for the first 2 to 3 months. But it's only a matter of time till you develop signs of the disease, and the first signs include fever, headache, and general malaise. Shortly after, the virus spreads into your brain and spinal cord, where you'll start to have hallucinations, delirium, aggression, fear of water, otherwise known as hydrophobia, which is one of the hallmarks of the disease, foaming at the mouth, and then invariably death. This virus is rabies. Rabies is a zoonotic disease, meaning it is transmitted by animals. It is usually transmitted by a scratch or a bite from an animal that is infected with rabies. 99% of rabies cases around the world are caused by dog bites or scratches. Globally, there are 59,000 deaths per year, but this is likely to be under the actual figure as there are many cases that go unreported. Given this virus has virtually a 100% death rate, with fewer than 20 cases ever reported of surviving the disease, why are there not more people dying from rabies? 59,000 sounds low for the most fatal virus on the planet. There are 3 key reasons why there isn't a higher annualized death rate. The first reason is vaccination. There is a readily available effective vaccine that can be used to prevent rabies even after you're bitten. Fortunately, rabies is a very long incubation period of about 2 to 3 months, which is the time between exposure to the virus and the development of symptoms. Inevitable death from rabies only occurs if the virus reaches the spinal cord, which corresponds to the onset of symptoms. Therefore, if you get bitten, but if you get a vaccine within this 2 to 3 months, you will be safe. The second reason for a relatively low death rate is awareness. Global awareness is key to combating the disease, which leads to mass dog vaccination programs, greater access to vaccination and treatment, and greater detection of disease to allow for prompt vaccination. The third reason for a relatively low death rate is the transmission mode. Unlike respiratory viruses such as coronavirus or influenza, where you just need to be near someone that's breathing with the virus, rabies you need to be transmitted from an animal with the virus, and it has to bite or scratch you. If this doesn't happen, you cannot get rabies. So when are you at risk of getting rabies? Well, typically if you live in a country like the USA or Australia, where there's a mass vaccination of dogs, your risk is relatively low. In actual fact, even though 99% of cases are actually from dogs worldwide, in these countries, the most likely source of rabies is actually from bats. The main time to be aware of rabies is if you live or are traveling to an area that is more endemic with rabies. This is a map of the world where dog-mediated rabies is mostly found, with the red areas of highest prevalence. This corresponds mostly to Africa, Asia, and some parts of South America, such as Bolivia and Venezuela. So should you get a vaccination before traveling to these countries? Typically, even if you're traveling to these endemic areas, pre-exposure prophylaxis, which is getting the vaccination before you're even bitten, is generally not recommended because most of these areas, the vaccination is readily available if you're scratched or bitten. Situations where you may consider pre-exposure prophylaxis include if you're going to rural or remote areas where there's poor access to vaccination, or you're going to be participating in recreational or occupational activities that increase your risk of exposure to rabid animals. So what should you do if you're bitten by a suspected rabid animal? There are 3 key steps. The first step is to extensively wash out the wound with soap and water for 15 minutes immediately. The second step is to complete a course of rabies vaccination, which is typically around 4 doses over 2 weeks. Now, the amount of doses that you get will depend on whether you had pre-exposure prophylaxis and whether you're immune competent or you're immune compromised. The third step is to get some human rabies immunoglobulin, depending on your level of risk. However, for most bites, this is recommended. Immunoglobulin is a medical term for antibody. With the vaccine, typically you're getting an inactivated or weakened version of a virus, and the body's immune system recognizes it and uses it to develop antibodies against that disease. However, this process can typically take weeks. If you give antibodies or immunoglobulin in the meantime, this can help protect you while your body is generating its own antibodies. So hopefully this video contributed to rabies awareness. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.